Mr. Kenney, you said that you didn't really expect to go in there and to come out with anything concrete. So tell us, you've gone in there, you've come out, what did you come out with?
We had a very frank conversation about the ongoing economic crisis in Alberta, the impact that has on Canadian prosperity, and frankly on unity of our country as well. And I made the case for action by the federal government as strongly as I could. Appreciate the Prime Minister listened and seemed to be responsive on a number of points. And we've had 8 Alberta ministers making the same case to their counterparts over the past 2 days. At the end of the day, Albertans will assess this federal government and its commitment to prosperity and unity by how it acts. And so I made that very clear to the Prime Minister, whether it is on fiscal stabilization, a kind of equalization rebate to Alberta, or on the completion of Trans Mountain, on avoiding job-killing duplicate regulations, or any number of issues. We need to see action. A number of these issues are quite urgent. For example, the Tech Frontier Mine deadline for approval is February 28th. That would create 10,000 jobs, $70 billion in revenue for governments to pay for healthcare and education, and they've been waiting now for 8 years for approval. So the next few weeks will be critical in determining the seriousness of this federal government to respond to the deep and legitimate concerns in Western Canada.
Do you leave here optimistic? Do you leave here optimistic, pessimistic?
Realist. How about realistic?
From where you walked in.
I'm somebody who always tries to be hopeful. That's hard for a lot of Albertans now who have been out of work for 4 years. But at least we have a federal government that is, the Prime Minister was willing to listen to our case and indicate an openness on a number of issues. For example, on fiscal stabilization, where our position's been endorsed by all 13 provinces and territories. The Prime Minister said that Finance Minister Morneau is open to changes that would reflect a fair deal for Alberta and Saskatchewan as well as Newfoundland on Bill C-69, which we think will be a very serious problem for major job-creating projects, not just in oil and gas. While the Prime Minister is not going to move to repeal the bill as we would prefer, he did agree to work with us on its application, on the regulations, and on the project list. And so on a number of issues, he's indicated an openness, and we appreciate that, but we will be continuing to push our vital economic interests with vigor because Alberta's interests are Canada's interests. We contributed over $600 billion to the rest of the country since 1960, even during this long recession we've gone through. We've been contributing $20 billion net to the rest of the Federation every year. We need a strong Alberta economy to prosper nationally, and the Prime Minister said he understands that.
Vous avez dit qu'il y a une ouverture, mais vous demandiez par exemple de revoir la liste des projets, peut-être d'avoir une application provinciale à l'évaluation plutôt que fédérale. Quelle ouverture avez-vous senti de la part de M. Trudeau à ces demandes?
Il s'est exprimé une certaine ouverture à cet égard. Évidemment, il ne va pas retirer le projet de loi C-69, mais il a dit qu'il est prêt à travailler avec les provinces, y compris l'Alberta, en ce qui concerne les réglementations et la liste des grands projets qui sera touchée par cette nouvelle loi. Alors, il y a une certaine ouverture. J'espère que qu'il y aura les suivis concrets là-dessus.
Stabilization deal on Monday when the finance ministers meet. The finance ministers are meeting next week. Do you think they will be able to come to an agreement on fiscal stabilization based on what the Prime Minister told you today?
Well, yes, because we already got unanimity across the country. I mean, it was miracles will never cease. You had everybody from the BC New Democrats to the CAQ in Quebec to the coast to coast to coast saying, we've got to stand with the province that helps to pay so many of the bills in this federation. So we got unanimity amongst the provinces. My message to the Prime Minister, he said to Premier Moe 3 weeks ago, you need to come back to me with a consensus amongst the premiers on equalization reform. We've come back with a consensus which is a kind of rebate to the provinces that pay into equalization when they're facing a time of real decline in fiscal terms. That is the ask of all 13 provincial and territorial governments. The ball is now in the federal court.
Did you see anything today that leads you to believe that Bill Morneau will be able to cut this particular deal as early as next week, or is this still a work in progress?
I didn't receive any specific guarantee except a willingness to look at it.
Vous dites que les prochaines semaines seront cruciales. Vous vous attendez à quoi exactement de la part de M. Trudeau?
Les 5 points que j'ai soulevés dans mon discours hier, que nous avons soulevés pendant cette mission de l'équipe Alberta ici, et particulièrement les pourparlers la semaine prochaine au sujet du programme de stabilisation fiscale, c'est essentiel. C'est la semaine prochaine. C'est un consensus unanime national de toutes les provinces et territoires qui sont reconnaissants que les Albertains, par leurs taxes fédéraux, ont contribué centaines de milliards de dollars à toutes les provinces du pays. Il faut, pendant une période d'adversité grave en Alberta, reconnaître une nécessité de nous donner un petit coup de main. Ça, c'est le point.
Trudeau, est-ce que vous avez parlé de la menace séparatiste en Alberta, M. Trudeau? Et est-ce qu'il est sensible à ça? Et pensez-vous qu'il est ouvert en partie à cause de ça?
J'ai soulevé les sondages dernièrement qui indiquaient un tiers de la population en faveur de la sécession, mais ce que j'ai dit, et je suis plus inquiète, de 80% des Albertains dans les sondages qui indiquent qu'ils comprennent ou ils ont une certaine sympathie envers ce sentiment sécessionniste. J'ai dit qu'en bout de ligne, je crois que les Albertains sont les patriotes qu'ils n'appuiera jamais à quitter le pays. Mais j'ai dit il faut agir pour démontrer qu'il y a un espace juste pour les Albertains au sein de la Fédération. Et le Premier ministre a dit qu'il est d'accord avec ces sentiments-là, qu'on ne doit pas ignorer ces sentiments maintenant qui sont des gens qui sont fâchés en Alberta. Il a dit qu'il faut les écouter, il faut les entendre et il faut agir. I've done a lot in French, I'm sorry.
On separatism, the tech company Wattpad, yesterday we reported, chose Halifax over Calgary because of concerns over Western separatism and the tax cuts, the innovation tax cuts, credits that your government cut. Are you concerned about more companies like this choosing not to go to Calgary because of these decisions?
No, I can tell you I'm in constant investment promotion mode, and I've heard that from absolutely no one on Wall Street, Bay Street, Houston, or Europe. The reality is that they said they wanted to be within 3 hours of Toronto. We can't move Calgary an hour to the east.
On Frontier Mine, what specifically did Mr. Trudeau say on that, and more broadly on the future of the oil sands and the cap?
He's on the Frontier Tech Mine. He said that the federal government is working towards its February 28th deadline on a decision. I underscored this is essential because it is a project that will create upwards of 10,000 jobs, $70 billion of revenue for governments to fund social programs, that it is the best-in-class environmental technology. It will operate at the lowest carbon emission intensity of any major oil sands project to date, and lower carbon intensity than the average barrel of oil in North America. They've gone through the Alberta approval, the joint panel approval. This should be a simple federal ratification of those recommendations that this is a net plus for Canada, both environmentally and economically. And he said that they will be working towards a decision on the, on the so-called emissions cap for the oil sands. I simply pointed out that we are, the notional cap of 100 megatons, we are 30% below that. The Tech Frontier mine doesn't move us materially closer to it. So this can easily be managed within the 100 megaton cap with which the federal government came to an agreement with Premier Notley's government. And folks, I've got to run for my flight. Thank you.